I think his sibling had threatened to take his money, and he told him that Gary was going to put it in cold storage. So, what happens in the game, it's kind of hard to see there, and I didn't. We have links. We can do that. You guys have the game there. If you take it out, you'll see that these player cards. You see them on the bottom left there. There's a hot wallet side and a cold storage side, and in the game, if you move your Bitcoin to the cold storage side, it's safe. So it's just funny. You have these kids that, to them, they're just playing a game. They're eating their pizza, but then you get this feedback. The kids are they remember that if you put it in cold storage, it was safe. And it's kind of neat that way. You don't. The benefit of the game is, even though it's all based on Bitcoin, you don't actually need to talk about Bitcoin when you play it, and especially with kids. The kids want to have fun. They don't want to lecture, and it's really cool feedback when you hear some, a 12-year-old or whatever age, and it's not the first time we've gotten that feedback, where the kids are using that language outside of the game later on, saying you better get your Bitcoin to cold storage. So it's kind of fun. Look, it doesn't have to be this subject that is all technical and scary. It's something that you can have some fun with. So,
as I mentioned before, we've been traveling a lot and attending a lot of Bitcoin meetups in different locations. And what I've noticed is that unlike your club, most clubs are mostly men, and the communication style is very masculine. And I felt like if I had not been coming or going to those meetups with Scott, then I would personally have felt very overwhelmed and very intimidated, especially when people who understand Bitcoin go deep on the tech talk. And even though I'm there to learn, I just feel like there's some ways that women communicate that are just very particular, and I wanted to reach more women in this space. And a lot of the people that I have met, even when I go to Bitcoin Park, because we go to Bitcoin Park every month, and there were some women who would seek me out because I'm one of the few who are there, and the new ones would come and just say, I wish that there was something specific for women when we're talking about evangelizing Bitcoin or marketing Bitcoin or explaining Bitcoin. And so with that inspiration, I decided to start a podcast specifically targeted at women who, I talked to someone from Tanzania, and she talked about how when she and her husband would set up a spending money wallet, because in Tanzania they have what they call electronic wallet or online wallet, and they would put the same amount of money in there for their spending money, but he would immediately convert it to Bitcoin, and she kept it in the shillings. And at the end of the month, their value was so different that he was able to take the change in the value and take her out to a nice dinner. And that was how she first started paying attention. She's like, wait, we started with the same amount of money. How come you have extra at the end? Because, shillings are depreciating just like every other fiat money. And at that time, at least, Bitcoin was going up. So that's another
conversation on homeschooling. Tali and I took our game and the book to a couple different homeschooling conferences this year, and honestly, the call out that I'm trying to make with these bullet points is when we talk to Bitcoiners and I say self-custody your education, it's like instant. Bitcoiners get it. They understand what self-custody is, and I can see a lot of Bitcoiners with younger kids already interested in homeschooling. But the same doesn't go the other direction. And what we found is that these homeschoolers are already experiencing a lot of the same things that Bitcoiners are. There's a lot of FUD. They're under attack. There's a lot of they value this something that they're going to do it themselves. There's a lot of different ways that they're just so ready for Bitcoin. And the article that's up there in the top right, I wrote that after the first conference, because you have this, imagine this group, most of the people in homeschooling, it's going to be the mom that's deciding the curriculum. So they're trying to figure out how to fit in all the critical things. In their mind, finance means Dave Ramsey, personal finance, and get out of debt. The idea of understanding what money is, and certainly the difference between fiat and a hard money, that's a difficult concept. So you're fighting this challenge number one of fitting it in, and it's unknown to them, so it sounds kind of scary. And then number two, they're also on a budget. So now you have to convince them, not only should you study this, but we have resources to help you do it. So we think this group is going to explode over the next couple of years.
Number of people. And we sat at our booth, and I would say 90% of the time, nobody came to our booth. They literally, you can see them making a wide berth around our booth, because there are aisles, stands on both booths on both sides. They'd see our booth and be like, oh, no, we gotta avoid eye contact. And for the people who actually came by, a lot of them only wanted Bitcoin investment advice. So their question was, okay, should I buy more, or should I sell? And I'm like, I'm not.
I'm not a financial advisor. That's the disclaimer.
We're here just to educate the banking system and inflation and the rising cost of asset prices compared to the rising salary increase. So there's no comparison. So I got them angry. And then I didn't want to actually come out and say Bitcoin because I didn't want them to run out the door. So they said, I finished the talk. I'm like, okay, you guys just need to, research more on the monetary system. And one of the moms stood up and said, you can't do that to us, Tali. You can't lead us to the cliff's edge and not give us a way down. And I said, well, and I was wearing my Bitcoin shirt. And I said, well, this is what we believe, but I don't want to do a bait and switch. I don't want to, entice you to come in to talk about monetary system and then shove Bitcoin in your face. And she goes, you know what? If other people don't want to hear it, they can leave, but I want to hear it. And so we ended up talking about Bitcoin because they were ready. But even then, even after they've been angry, even though we explained to them how Bitcoin can be a solution to it, most of them still went away thinking they could not understand the way it works. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of education that still needs to go on in the homeschooling community. And all the podcasters, they're like the prophets. And you guys, do you guys know what you sound like? Well, yes, we do, because we believe in it that much. So yeah, we are getting pushback. And on his side of the family, again, we do that all the time, but they just kind of sit on the sidelines watching. And on my side of the family, same thing. And it almost feels like, especially the more financially secure they are, the less they want to hear it. Because it's almost like we're attacking their identity, And for us, we believe in it because we've been hurt by the financial system. But for the other people who are doing okay, they really don't want to hear it from us. So yeah, we've had a lot of pushback.
I've been doing this now less than a year full time. The map there isn't updated. We've actually been to 10 states so far where we've actually conducted a Bitcoin game event. And I've lost track of how many different meetups. We've already mentioned the 2 homeschooling conventions this year. For those that aren't familiar, TGFB is Thank God for Bitcoin. It's 2 days just prior to the big conference in Miami. The photo actually over on the right, again, I don't know you guys very well and what you listen to, but Preston Fish has a podcast called The Investors Podcast, and he played the game at Thank God for Bitcoin with us, and he wrote this amazing, nice tweet. You can't read it on the screen there, but we can get it for you. I'm going to TabConf. Are you coming with me at TabConf? Where are you going? And the Atlantic Bitcoin conference is TabConf. That's mostly for people who are heavy into coding. It's a smaller group, but we're going to be there. And then Adopting Bitcoin is, I think, October, November. That's in El Salvador. So we're going to be going to that as well. They come into it for different reasons. If you're in another country, you might come into it because you're unbanked. You may come into it because your country's fiat currency is inflating away. If you're in the West, like we are, we're privileged with this U.S. dollar, and maybe you come in from an investment standpoint or whatever your reason is. But this is the first time I feel like there's hope. And when we talk to people, they're passionate about this. So this to me is about doing something that's bigger than ourselves.
Well, Scott and Tali, I just want to thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. And keep up the good work.